and you the runaround. I double on the dosage, I don't need emotion, no. Right now we young and we dumb and we lit. Been thinking that before when we was kids, yeah. I was caught up in the mission, yeah. And we live for the moment, respond to a calling. It's bigger than all of us, right to the wheels. Give anything to feel something new. High if I fall, no, I did it going all in. At the time of my life, right for the squad. The lights through the fog, but we made it, yeah. I'll be good by the morning. I feel like I'm falling. It feel like I'm falling. Feel like I'm falling. It feel like I'm falling. Real eyes see real eyes, real shit, real life, real rare. I'm on edge, I make noise, they all is, no cap, all facts. Eyes low, but I'm still woke. No patience, heart glacier, can't see the young ghost, phone blare. Overbearing, shit a blessing that I overcherish. Got these rap niggas eyes open glaring cause they overjealous. I'm so overzealous, whiskey sour with the rosemary. They used to want it, not a whole staring. That was back before I could afford to care. Now we on course to take the tour to Paris. I blew up the bag, they've hit me as bad. The guy from the racks that they chastise. They can fast die, telling mad lies. Going back, tell them get they act right. On my last light, I poured a potion, I've been out of orbit. I've been moving slowly, got me going up, they got my head clouded. I've been good by the morning. At the time of my life, right for the squad, no lights through the fog, but we made it, yeah. I'll be good by the morning. Feel like I'm falling. It feel like I'm falling. Feel like I'm falling. It feel like I'm falling. Feel like I'm falling. It feel like I'm falling.
Good morning, everybody. How are you? Hope you're doing well. It's a beautiful Monday, although a little bit cold and a little bit of weather you're going to have to deal with in the city of Cincinnati. It is so great to be alive, isn't it? On today's show, I want to talk about numerous things, but I think at the top of that list for me is a question. Will Cincinnati Public Schools return to in-person learning this week? Now, if you don't know, the Cincinnati Federations of Teachers filed an injunction. They are going to be in court this morning arguing that they want to delay the opening of school because they're concerned about the safety of the teachers that work for Cincinnati Public Schools. I'm not sure if you saw it or not, but I got a chance to speak with Julie Sellers. Julie Sellers is the president of the Cincinnati Federation of Teachers. We talked for about an hour yesterday on Sunday. I know it was a different time frame. Typically we don't go live until if something's happening, then I may go live at any moment because it's important. It's very, very important. And I thought we had a very good conversation. If you missed that, it is worth your time. You've been following any of the conversations I've been having with school board members. It is worth your time to check that out. Well worth your time to check it out. It was a very interesting conversation, to say the least. I'm going to recap just a little bit, but I also want to look forward and give you a sense of what you can expect. And is what we're seeing in Cincinnati any different than what we're seeing across the country? Also, what's new with the coronavirus? Because every single week, it seems like we get some updates, some new information from the scientific community. So I'll give you all those details. Plus, a smattering of other topics related to people politics, and pleasure. This is the Nathan Ivey Show, the last honest place in Cincinnati media, brought to you by Sin Digital Media, and we'll get started in about 60 seconds. Please take just take a minute and share today's show, family. It means everything. When you share the show, more people see it. I appreciate you. And good morning to the Choppers. Viva la Choppers. Don't go anywhere.
Long as you know I come with imperfections. When you look at me, you see the soul through my flesh. You something special. Know you looking bomb the way you dress and gone flex and hold it still and let my mind digest. You got the leverage. You got the upper handle on the situation. You worthy of a million more of the storms that we weathered. We fight retreating then fuck, but you trying to kill the cycle. When nobody's stressing their body like me, I know the way you like it. I treat you like a queen, run the castle, you a treasure. Feel like you setting fire to my desire for the pleasure. You a gem, got me blameless, make amends, know you can, I'm out here.
Trying to control our emotions. We on the right side of passion. We can share love in the ocean. If you wanna go insane either way, baby, we could go on. We could go all night. We could go all night. Do we heal, do we bleed? I'ma follow your lead, but we could go all night.
The Nathan Ivey Show is supported by listeners. Go to www.patreon.com/Nathan Ivey Show and help Nathan keep the show independent. You're listening to The Nathan Ivey Show. One man, one microphone, one mission. Now let's get back to the flow.
Yeah. Talking to my mirror like I love you so much. Curving on my critics like I heard you, so what? You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the man. Tally all the I ever gave on my head. Lately I've been living like I can't take a loss. They ain't wanna help me, that's what made me a boss. You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the man. We don't give a fuck, that's what they don't understand.
I'm back again like flu season. I broke records while loose leafing. I'm coming down my roof, leaving. Don't give a fuck, I don't care. Did the shit for my lonesome. No wonder now I'm on one. No shortcuts on that long run. All I really want is my share. Get on my God, on my told them it's nothing. In the discussion, for them feelings I throw all my pain on percussion. The disgusting. I hear them bragging about that they did, and it do not move me, not in the least. They ain't been trying.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Nate Ivey with you. Good morning. It's the Nathan Ivey Show, where nothing is funnier than the truth. Men are allowed to be men. And of course, sucker MCs get dealt with. If you would like to test the limits of a dangerous force, aka your own flow, you can always call into the show at 513-873-7134. How we sound, how we looking? We looking good in that digital age? Hopefully so, family. Hopefully so. Broadcasting live from a secret location somewhere near the core of the Cincinnati area. And good morning to you. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you got a chance to get out there and enjoy some of that good weather. It's different when you have a young child. It's different when you have children. Like my son was out in the snow. He's out in the yard. He's out there with the family having a good time. He's fascinated with snow. As we get older, we get so jaded, don't we? We forget the small things that Mother Nature, that this Garden of Eden called Earth provides us. We just so get caught up in that rat race, right? Trying to get from A to B and without hitting anybody's vehicle. Hopefully nobody had any automobile crashes over the weekend. Unfortunately, we did in the family. It wasn't my wife or myself, but my sister. I told you I have twin sisters. They're fraternal twin sisters. The youngest of the siblings of the brood from Chairman Mom, who, by the way, finally has made that transition back home over the weekend during a snowstorm. It's a story involved. I won't get into it, but she's comfortable, and we just got to make sure as her brood, as her offspring, that we take care of her during these days and times. But my sister got into a little bit of an accident. She's one of these folks that works in the gig economy, so she's got a side hustle that she delivers things primarily during the weekend, and slid into somebody's car. So hopefully you don't have anything like that going on. and you had a great weekend, because the worst thing in the world is having an automobile, or one of the worst things in the world in terms of being an inconvenience and just irritating your soul. Because as long as you're healthy, you got wealth, right? Wealth is health, same thing. But one of the worst and most inconvenient things in the world is having an automobile accident, isn't it? It is. It is. 513-873-7134. I don't wish that on you. Be safe out there. I think the roads are relatively cool. We just had like a flash dusting on Saturday. Everybody went to they got you, didn't you? They got you. Everybody was flooding the Kroger. Everybody was going to Whole Food. The lines were super long because you thought you were going to get 6 inches. No. You got a light little dusting. If you weren't out on Saturday, you were completely fine. You know what I'm saying? It was no big deal. We got to stop overreacting to a little bit of snow. But I get it. It's the topography, the landscape of Cincinnati. I get it. 513-873-7134. Please take a second to like, and in particular, share today's show. If you like this kind of content, great. Please like and share today's show. And then there's my number, 513-873-7134. And there we go. Now we're starting to get some graphics up on the screen. Thank you. Good, great. Welcome, everybody. Man, over the weekend, had a very interesting conversation yesterday with Julie Sellers. And I'll tell you, and Julie Sellers is the president of the Cincinnati Federation of Teachers. And I reached out to her because they were in the news. And I thought that there was an interesting perspective that was being missed in this whole conversation. If you've not been tuning in for a while, I've been focusing for the last couple of weeks on the decision that the school board members made, because it kind of defies logic. And I wanted to hear, it does defy logic. I wanted to hear from them in particular as to, what their thought process was. I wanted to get that thought from them, like, hey, what's going on? Why'd you vote this way? And, it's still up in the air. I still question the logic from some of the folks that I heard in terms of what they had to say. But I'll tell you one thing. It was very, very, very interesting to hear from an adult that's surrounded and has knowledge about what's happening with CPS, who making some damn sense. It was refreshing. I didn't realize it was going to be such a refreshing conversation. But, if you don't know, basically, the CFT, that's the Cincinnati Federation of Teachers, is going to be in court this morning trying to stop the opening of school, which, quite honestly, from what I've read, is happening in different cities all over the country, West Virginia, where maybe the dynamics are changing, where you've got maybe the school boards being sued. I think in Florida, it was the teachers union that was suing the governor and his decision, in many parts around the country, because those that represent the teachers are very concerned about their safety. As I understand, I just don't get it. Like, talking with some of these board members and asking all of them, like, well, how'd you make your decision? The concern that the teacher seemed to be like not even a consideration. Nearly all of them start citing some studies, whatever the hell that means, studies from Duke University and studies that were taken last year. And there's just a lot of question marks about it. So will CPS open this week? Well, it depends on what happens in court today. And it's sad that here we are during a pandemic, that the adults involved can't agree on anything. It goes back to what I told you before, family. I've been saying the same thing over and over again, and in some respects sounding like a broken record. And that is that when the apocalypse is about to happen, like the real apocalypse, the biblical apocalypse, if you believe in that kind of thing, human beings will be worse than whatever force it is that's going to threaten to take us off of the face of the planet. The human beings are far more a problem than anything else. You got human beings who, per the voters, have been put in a position to protect what happens in the schools, and their logic is very questionable. And the reason why, and if you're watching those, because I've got a lot of comments from people, and overwhelmingly the comments have been, what's wrong with so-and-so? Fill in the blank of whoever we just spoke to in terms of a board member across the board. Like, Nate, what is they saying? I get that from everybody. And the reason why is because these board members are trying to defend the indefensible. It just doesn't make any sense. I heard no logic whatsoever, nothing that made any real good sense as to why they wouldn't start on March 1st as opposed to February 1st. None. In fact, I even got at least a couple board members to admit that there were facets of this in-school learning plan that, in their own opinion, they thought was dangerous. So why would you vote for something you think is dangerous? It defies logic, and that's what it is. That's why you heard them struggle. That's why they yabba dabba doing, because it don't make sense, and they're being asked to legitimize something that's not legitimate. They're trying to make the illogical logical, right? And at the end of the day, it all comes down to what they believe. So data science goes. They'll say data in science. They the science. But when you drill down to it, it comes back to, well, this is what I believe. Why? Well, I believe it. Based on what? Well, superintendent. To me, that's weak leadership, to hide behind the superintendent. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't want to hear nothing about the superintendent. I want to hear what you were elected by the people to make this decision. Stop hiding behind Lord Mitchell. Stand on your own 2 feet. And again, some of the board members did to varying degrees of, they came across in different ways. So, again, when I talk with Julie Sellers yesterday, it was refreshing to talk to a grown-up, quite honestly, like somebody that thinks logically instead of, cherry picking from some obscure study that nobody knows about, not even really fully comprehending what the study concludes and or giving us all of the details and why it's comparable to what's happening here in the city of Cincinnati. It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing, but this is where we are. And hopefully you've prepared yourself for this moment, family, because at the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do if you was a parent. And that means hopefully you've been building up the natural immunity of your children, building up your own natural immunity so that when your children, if in fact it is this week, go back to school and they are exposed to something, this idea that, we've got the protocols. Yeah, but what about the asymptomatic folks? Well, the study says it defies logic. And what we're noticing, again, is the hubris of human beings. To think that we have it all figured out, it is one of our biggest weaknesses. If you go look at any of the sci-fi movies in which there's a tragic ending for humans, it all begins with humans thinking that they're God. Humans thinking that they got everything figured out. Oh, yeah, we're going to design a dimensional portal to some unknown planet. That sounds like a great idea. Let's do it. Oh, yeah, we're going to give birth to AI, Matrix. Oh, yeah, sounds like a great idea. Oh, yeah, biological warfare. Yeah, kill our enemies. Yeah, sounds like it's always the same, and we see the same thing here. My deal is public safety. Error on the side of public safety, the same way you would do with your children. With my children and my family, I err on the side of caution, even if at the end of the day we find out that maybe it was overkill. So what? Being cautious during a pandemic is a muscle that we should fully exercise. That's just me. But what do you think? 513-873-7134. I read a lot of comments yesterday, but not all of them. And the conversation's been continuing on our Facebook page over at CDM's Facebook page. And I want to get your thoughts about it. You heard Julie Sellers yesterday. What did you think? What'd you think? And I asked her, she said she'd been in this game with you working in education locally for 25 years. I asked her what was her opinion about it. And she said, I don't know, Nate. I know some of these people. I've known them from years. I don't know who's got to them and what's being said. Now, what I do know is that you've got a group of parents that have been organized for months around this. And these are parents who are more in the file of having kids go back to school as quickly as possible. And so, and I said this yesterday, I'll say it again today. I have no issues with these parents. They did what they had to do. That's their viewpoint. They organized. They were sending letters and all kinds of stuff. And I thought that Julie Sellers made an excellent point, which just makes sense. It makes sense if you're trying to arrive at the best decision. And after talking with Ryan Messer, after talking with Carolyn Jones, after talking with Pam Bowers, after talking with Ben Lindy, and there's some debate as to what he said during a board member meeting. I've got the video. We'll play it for you in a second and break it all down frame by frame. But after talking with them, it seems to me as if they've all arrived at this decision last year, and that's it. And I thought that Julie Sellers made an excellent point. And she caught some of the obviously I could tell she had caught some of the interviews. And she's like, these board members, she said, told her like, hey, Julie, we're hearing from all these parents that want to go back to school, but we're not hearing from parents that want to stay virtual. Julie made an excellent point, which just makes sense. She said, well, the reason behind that is because you, and by you, I'm talking about the district and the school board. They told us last year that they had all of these criteria. I did a team up show with Donnie B, and we talked with the superintendent, and she laid out all these criteria. We were very specific and thorough as to why or what were the criteria that would make you go back. So when you establish criteria in the public's mind out there, there's no reason to send you a letter because we know what the criteria is. And unless it hits the criteria, there's no reason to send you a letter. So, it doesn't really take a rocket science to kind of figure these things out. But if you're the kind of person who you've already arrived at a decision, then all that kind of thinking becomes inconvenient. Let's not think too much about this, right? Same thing with this parent survey. I talk with school board members, and they're talking to me about a parent survey that they did last calendar year, like pre-flu season, pre-going into purple. Now we're in the red. I still think the red is highly infectious. We're still a problem. So if you really cared about parent input, why didn't you do another survey? This might be cynical. This is how I feel about it. I think the reason why they didn't do another survey is because the first survey, from what I've gotten, I haven't seen the details, but talking with board members, it was 50-50. Okay, so if you do a second survey, and let's say it's 80-20, parents saying that they don't want to go back to school, it becomes inconvenient. Now it's even more difficult to defy the will and the spirit and the feelings of the parents because you got a more accurate and up-to-date snapshot. That's all a survey is. A survey is nothing more than a snapshot of how people feel at that particular time. That's all it is. To extrapolate when you've got, you've got new factors that come into play, to extrapolate 7 months later and say, well, this is how people feel, and you took that 7 months ago, is unscientific. There's nothing scientific about that. People were like, oh, well, Ben Lindy, thank you for taking a scientific approach. I didn't hear a scientific approach. I heard a man who thought he was smart talking about a scientific approach, but I didn't hear a scientific approach. Like I said, there's a lot of folks out here with degrees, a lot of folks out there who understand what that means. I'm one of them. You just can't say anything to me and I'm like, okay, yeah, oatmeal. No, that was BS. That's all it was. Straight up. Anybody can take it any way they want to take it. It is what it is because the facts are what they are. So as we get ready for this decision today, we'll have to figure out what happens. I think what you should be preparing for as a parent is to go back to school. You should be preparing for that. You hope for the best, prepare for the worst. If you're someone who believes that a March 1st is better, well, then you're hoping that the judge will grant an injunction today. If you're someone who feels like you want to get your kids back to school for 2 days and they're actually losing an instructional day, okay, well, then you're hoping that the judge denies this injunction and things continue as CPS has planned them. So I want to get your thoughts on it. If you heard Julie's flow yesterday, I want to get your thoughts about, what she said and what you can remember. Of course, I've got clips and we'll play this morning to accentuate the conversation at 513-873-7134. Again, I think it's why can't we all agree on the best thing to do for public health? I don't get it. It seems real simple to me. And in terms of high schoolers, we're talking about 6 instructional days. 6. And, some of these school board members took the idea that, okay, we start in March, well, why don't we start in April? Well, I don't have a problem with that. Maybe you should look into it. You should start when it is the safest possible. Not just safe enough to get along, because we do that too much in Cincinnati. We do too much placating. We do too much band-aiding. We do too much Cincinnati politeness. We do way too much that in Cincinnati. Where are the people that's going to do the absolute utmost? Whatever happened to saying, you know what? We're not going to return until it is the absolute safest possible environment. What's wrong with that? You telling me Cincinnati public school children aren't worth that? And then some people start to get into that racist angle like, oh, okay, well, you got a school system that's vast majority black. Is this why? And I don't know. You have to make those decisions about it. For me, if you're going to come onto this show, you're going to come before the public talking about science, you better bring some data. And it's better be relevant. And you're not going to be able to just recite some study without giving us some context and some methodology and telling us how this actually transfers over to our scenario. I had school board members who were like, well, look at these other school districts. I don't give a damn about these other school districts. So what? What's your point? Is this true? Julie Sellers said that nationwide, only 52% of children are in school. Is that true? Really? That's quite interesting. I did not know that figure. If in fact it's true, then it would put Cincinnati, by staying virtual, par for the course for everybody else. Like I said, I don't have a problem with overthinking safety when it comes to children. I don't have a problem being extra cautious when it comes to COVID. Why does the board? I don't get it. So Julie said there she did a freedom of information request. I mean, think about this. You got the school board doing a freedom of information request. I'm sorry. You've got the teacher union doing a freedom of information request on the school board. And we're in a pandemic. This is so classic Cincinnati, quite honestly. It's very, very sad. It's very, very sad. But again, these are some of the same board members that voted for the FC Cincinnati deal. And then came on the show talking about we had to do it because they was going to do it anyway. Remember that? Was that Carolyn Jones? We had to do it, Nate, because they was going to do it anyway. What do you mean they were going to do it anyway? Whatever happened to stand your ground and stand on principles? Period. Now, I know I'm mixing issues here, trying to make a larger point, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Now, tomorrow we're scheduled to speak with Eve Bolton, and we'll see how that conversation goes. It'll be a bit different. Now, I've got more information to work on, and here we are now into the week. School's supposed to start tomorrow for many, many students. So, for us in this household, we're making preparations to do what we got to do. And I'm sure you are doing the same thing if you have children that attend Cincinnati public schools. And it's just amazing to me how some board members, look at Walnut Hills. It's amazing to me that some board members think that 3 feet is fine. Other board members say it's not safe, but they all voted for it. I could never do that. I can never vote for a scenario that I don't think is safe for somebody else and then send somebody else into that situation. I just don't have that kind of heart. My mind don't work that way. If I'm not willing to do it, then I'm not willing to make anybody else do it. Simple as that. But we all different out here. We all cut differently. 513-873-7134. If you want to share your thoughts this morning, I would love to hear them. Phone line is up. I want to get your thoughts. I mean, so what do you think? What do you think? What do you think is the right thing to do? Are you looking for? Do you want to see the judge support the CFT injunction? Are you ready to go back to school? Have you heard anything over the weekend that would change your opinion one way or the other? If so, I'd love to get your thoughts about it. Love to get your thoughts about it this morning. That's what we do. We take thoughts. That's what we do. Hold on a second here. I'm looking for a particular track. And when I find it, I'm going to go straight into the chop shop and start right there. Here we go. All right. Good morning to everybody. Let me back up here. Miss D writes greetings. Greetings, Miss D. Ashley writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. Good morning to you, Ashley. Baby Miana, doing well. I love to see it. Pat writes, good morning. Ray writes, here. Mason Muller writes, morning, Nate and the Choppers. Hashtag flows rated E for everybody. Hashtag voting early or politically petty. Hashtag not your Botham John party. Hashtag no hugging it out this time. Hashtag Dems take change. Is that charge? Dems take charge. Sharp writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. Welcome to the first day of February and Black History Month. Hope you had a good January. Listen, I want to make Black History during Black History Month. I've got an idea I'll be sharing with you very, very shortly. But it is Black History Month. Shortest month of the year. But today is the first day of Black History Month. And I'll be reaching out to some local historians to come on and give us some of that local Black history flavor. okay, this week. So I'll let you know when I confirm those interviews. We need that. We need to understand our roots in this city. Ray writes, great conversation yesterday. Thank you so much. Tracy writes, hi. Drop writes, good morning, choppers. Hashtag end. Is it just me? Is it just me, or does the Political Petty Show sound a little like Black Not Democrat podcast hosted by Drop Squad? I don't, you say sound like? I don't know. I don't think it sounds like that per se. I haven't heard it, so I don't know. Fox writes, rise and shine, young stars. Sharpen your eye, tune your ear, so you will know what you see, understand what you hear. Good morning to you. I forgot to drop the link to the Black Not Democrat podcast hosted by Drop Squad. Okay. No, you dropped the link, or maybe I went to your Facebook page and I saw it, or your social media. I think it was on Twitter and I saw it. And I listened to it. Tanika writes, good morning, Nana Choppers. I do have some suggestions I would make, though. Mason Mahler writes, it's just you drop my broadcast sound considerably better. I'm just saying, step up your game, drop. Okay, I didn't know that. See. Tracy writes, it was more than a dusting out there. Yeah, I mean, I think it was serious for a few hours. You know what I'm saying? It was serious out there on Saturday for a few hours because people were complaining that the trucks weren't out. And from what we read, they had a 30% reduction in terms of the truck drivers, the salt truck drivers, because of COVID, of all things. Huh? Yeah, COVID is real. Cassandra writes, hey, choppers. Good morning to you, Cassandra. Ray writes, that's hilarious. Let me see here. CG Dub writes, good morning, choppers. Good morning to you. Brenda writes, happy Monday. Okay, great. I have to check it out. Again, I wasn't aware of it. Supposed to send me a link. Mason Mahler, I'm not even aware of it. All right, good morning to you. Danita is on Facebook. She writes, this is why I said they are going to end up with a reduction in force. Could be. I asked Julie Sellers, so what if you lose this injunction? What do you do? I wasn't surprised by her answer. I didn't expect for her to fully answer, but I got to ask the question no matter what. And she said basically they would look into some other options, basically. So they lose this injunction. What's the next option? A strike? I don't know. She didn't say that. I'm just throwing it out there. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. I am a CPS parent. I've been listening to all your streams, and I seriously appreciate everything you've been doing to shed light on this situation. I think it's very telling that we can talk to Julie Sellers, and any question you asked her, she was able to give you data and science to back that up. But anything we asked the board, they kind of deferred because they didn't have 2 feet to stand on. They couldn't really speak to it at all. And I think it shows that their decision is based in either, fear mongering, where it's based on money, or it's based on those parents who were pushing to go back 5 days a week because they couldn't give us any answers. They couldn't give us any science or any data. And I think that Julie was so grounded and had so much information and responded very eloquently and answered every question that you had. And we simply didn't get that when it came to the board members.
I agree. It was refreshing to talk to someone related to this scenario that actually answered questions and made sense.
Definitely. I think, honestly, I wish she was on the board because it seems like she's the most level-headed of anyone that you've spoken to, and that she really is advocating not just for the teachers, but also for the students and the families to have equitable options for everyone.
I agree. How many children do you have in CPS?
I have 2. I've got a 3rd grader and then I have a preschooler. So part of my fight in this has been that it's simply not an equitable option for preschoolers because there is no other option. It's either you attend 4 days a week or you're not worth an education.
Okay.
So it's been really discouraging, honestly. And even just the other day, I was on the phone with Maggie Neighbor, who is the preschool coordinator. And she told me that they are allowing preschoolers now to drop then they would hold their spot for next year, which is great, but then they still don't have an education the entire time that they're not attending in person in 4 days. And then she also let me know that they're going to be filling those spots. So it's ridiculous to me that you're going to let these kids drop and then they get a spot next year, but then you're going to be introducing new kids into our system for the remainder of the school year, which furthermore shows me that it's based in money because they want to get those spots filled so they can get that tuition money in, and they don't care about the safety of the students.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the call. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate everything you've been doing. I think it's been very illuminating, and I hope we get some good answers today.
Yeah, me too. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it. Yeah, see, it's real. That's real. Somebody just sent me a message saying that a strike is not even an option because that's not something that's an option. Somebody is saying that if the injunction fails, then there are a few possible options, including taking sick leave, paid, unpaid leave, ADA accommodation, remote request, but a strike is not an option. Okay, I just threw that out there. I'm not sure. But I'm glad that somebody's listening that's got that information. So I want to make sure we always speak intelligently about what's going on. Julia Sellers also said that, they have someone who is an expert when it comes to infectious diseases that is going to be a part of their legal case. And then she said that the board and the school board and the district have been taking information from people who are pediatricians, not necessarily, experts in the field of infectious diseases. Is that true? I'm not sure. I hear a whole lot about Children's Hospital. Okay, I'm sure they have some expertise, but not every doctor is the same. You might specialize in one field, but it doesn't mean you specializing and knowledgeable in all fields. All right, so I don't know. I mean, it was a lot that came out. There was a lot that came out in that interview yesterday that's worthy. Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Hold on one second here. I'm getting a message. Oh, no. Hold on one second. Yeah, I want to give you a heads up. So, man, so many things going on today. So today, brand new, it's a very, very special day. Today, among other things, you'll get a chance to check out it's a brand new podcast for CDM, but she's been doing this work for some time on her own. And that's the Community Connector podcast hosted by Tiffany Daniels. It's going to debut on CBM today at 12 noon. So if you're following that page, make sure you check it out today. And we definitely want to support her and what she's doing and lift her up. She's already doing great work. And I just want to be a part of it. Again, I am 100% focused on the mission. 100% focused on the mission, as I keep reiterating. So I asked Tiffany Daniels to give us a call this morning just to talk about a show for folks who are not aware of who she is and the kind of show that she does, just to give you some more information. That's going to be today at 12 noon. Today at 12 noon. Community Connector with Tiffany Daniels. And as I said, she's already been putting in great work. So I'm very, very privileged to be working with her, on this particular project. So that'll be today at 12 noon. At 12 noon. You can watch it on Facebook Live. Very convenient for you. Many people on Facebook anyway. But we're scheduled to get a call from her. And then later on today, we're scheduled to get a call from Otis Wellburn. That's right. Otis Wellburn, the Wellburn Experience will be in the building, at least via Zoom today, just to talk about, what he has to offer and to introduce himself to the audience. And if you're looking for a dream home, I would say stop there. Maybe you're looking for some commercial property, an apartment. I would give Otis Wellburn Jr. a call this morning. And speaking of which, that would be a great time for a segue straight into our first promotional spot. All right, take a listen to this and we'll be right back. Give me 1 second. I want to make sure you can actually hear it when we do it. All right, check us out and we'll be right back.
It's that Wellborn experience. It's that Wellborn experience. The Wellborn experience. 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 It's that well-born experience.
Well-born.
Yeah, that well-born experience.
Well-born.
Yeah, that well-born experience.
Well-born.
Experience.
Well-born.
Experience. Tell us what you need. That's the question we start with. We specialize selling condos, houses, apartments. Make sure that you happy with your residence. Keep it real, no filter. Otis, the realtor from the nattiest heaven sent. It's the well-born experience. Ain't nothing like it. Every time he talk to his client, he's so excited just knowing he able to put them in a place to lay their head. Not focusing on his profits, but on the client instead. Right. He keeps it so professional and from his conversation. You can tell he studies before sharing information. Educated, motivated, ain't nobody better. Who's willing to walk you through every step to relieve the pressure. Yeah, and just so you know it's real, you get a special personalized rug once he closes the deal. So go and call him up so he can get you live. 513-252-1055.
Again, that's 513-252-1055. There's a link in today's description. It'll take you straight to the wellbornexperience.com website. Again, 513-252-1055. And when you call Otis and his team, make sure you let them know you heard about it on the Nathan Ivey Show. So as I told you later today, Tiffany Daniels, Community Connector, she's already been putting in good work with her podcast. If you're not hip to it, you should be hip to it. We want to amplify, let you know all about it. She talks about real estate, wealth building, inspiration. And what I love about Tiffany is she don't just talk about it. She is about it. She is about it. So it's a wealth of information. I don't know what time you think it is. To me, it's all about that personal wealth building legacy, especially for our community in particular. And there's just so many ways to get to the bag. And one way to get that information is to check out Community Connector on Mondays. And it starts today at 12 p.m. And when I say start, I mean with CDM. She's already been doing. I've been telling you for weeks to find her on Facebook. But she's backstage right now. I want to bring her on. Hey, what's up, Tiffany? Good morning.
What's up, Nathan? How everybody?
Hey, good morning to you. Thank you for your time this morning. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So I'm super excited. Community Connected today at 12 noon. And as I've been telling folks, you already been doing this. You've been putting in work on your own and doing a great job with the podcast. But for folks who are completely unaware of your podcast and what you talk about, can you explain it?
Sure. First of all, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. So thank you for that. So basically my podcast, I started out as a premise because of COVID. I'm a real estate agent, and shout out to Otis. OJ Wellborn is a great real estate agent. I know him very, very well. So I started out because of COVID, just basically giving value to the community as far as like my clients, to kind of give a behind the scenes version of what goes on during a real estate transaction, right? And so I brought in, instead of just taking it from me, I decided I was just going to bring in the experts and let them tell you what happens during a real estate deal. And that kind of like went from there to like, let's see what all the opportunities are, right? I don't want people to just buy a house. I want you to take advantage of opportunities, grow some wealth, build some wealth. And so I talk about not only real estate, we talk about building businesses. I'm going to talk to business owners, coaches, and then as well as, I don't know if anybody follows my page, but I'm a big crypto person. I love cryptocurrency and investing. So I like to bring on people that know how to get the bag as far as cryptocurrency and don't get behind, a lot of people are behind in the stock markets. Just start researching, get to the cryptocurrency world and learn how to trade and learn how to get into the foreign exchange market and really make some money. Don't get behind this wave that's getting ready to happen to us. So I'm all about action. So you gotta, that's why I say I want to bring the experts. You don't just take it from me. I bring the guest on who knows exactly what to do to get to these levels. And the main thing is you guys have to take action. We can talk to you to death, but you got to take some action.
And speaking of guests, you've got somebody special lined up today. Who is it, and what's their field of expertise?
So the guest I have today, her name is Patrice Campbell, and she is a career coach. So she started out in her life as a nurse, and she decided that she didn't want to do that anymore. Like her personal life was taking a hit. And so she decided to step back and live life on her own terms, basically. And so now she's coaching people with businesses or personal people how to get out of the rat race and what to do to be accountable and things like that. So she's very high on mindset. And a lot of the things that we do right now is based on mindset. What is your mindset? If your mindset isn't there, then you're really not going to grow.
I love it. I can't wait for it today at 12 noon. I love it. And the other thing I was telling the audience about you, and I'm not putting your business out there, you share what you want to share, but you actually putting it in place. You're not just telling people this, these investment ideas and this mindset. You're actually using it in terms of your own personal finances and the wealth building strategy for your family. So I love that. And I know you're going to share all of that with the audience. I think it's a podcast that's super on time, and I'm super grateful to be working with you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity, Nathan. I really do.
Almost deaf. So that's today at 12 noon, and it'll be on CDM's page, and then you'll put it up later on your YouTube. What's your YouTube? It's Tiffany Daniels on YouTube?
It's Tiffany Daniels on YouTube, and I'm building that out, and I'm learning a whole bunch of stuff, so I love to research. So if you guys know me, if you got any ideas, let me know. So I'm big on all that stuff. And if anybody has a business that they're thinking about, that they want to get some exposure, I'm willing to do some interviews with business owners. So if you know me, just hit me up, send me a message. I'm very I will talk. I'm very attainable. I'll just say that. And I do, communicate very clearly with people. So I'll get right back to you.
Well, Tiffany, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And we'll be watching.
Thank you so much.
I'll be watching. All right. Take it easy. Thanks. Most deaf. I'll be watching as we virtually produce it. I'm looking forward to it. And again, I keep coming back to it. I mean, she's not just talking about it. She doing it. Bitcoin, she was in on it. This ain't nobody's business. She was in on it. Smart. And we need those kind of reminders. We need that kind of knowledge out here in our community in particular, right? It's all about wealth building. You know what I'm saying? We ain't looking for no government handouts. Just get out the way and we can handle this for our own family. We smart enough. We were smart enough to do it many times over and over again. We can handle this. Like I say, if you want to help the Black community, if you want to help the working class community, then create the opportunities so we can use our imaginations, our hustle, our drive to make the bag for ourselves, right? So that's today at 12 noon. Looking forward to that. She even shouted out Otis Wellburn. Okay, great. I'm loving it. But that's today at 12 noon. At 12 noon. It'll be Mondays at 12 noon. And it's not every Monday. I mean, she's got a schedule that she has, but typically she has a guest on. So when you tune in, not only do you get Tiffany guiding it, and I think she's very good at that, but you also get the expertise from people that this is their life's work. Or, she'll talk to folks that's made it, that's been very successful in these particular industries. So again, if you're looking for some wealth building strategies, if you're looking to change your mindset, check out Community Connector on CDM's page starting today. Right, back to the phones we go. Brian writes, good morning. Good to see you, Brian. TNT writes, good morning. Good to see you, TNT. Greg writes, I caught most of it. It was interesting. I think he's referring to the conversation yesterday with Julie Sellers. Yeah, it was interesting, all right. It was interesting. Julie broke some things down from a perspective that we just haven't heard. We just haven't heard it. And there might be some board members that they're mad at Nate for things that I've said. It comes with the territory. We'll be okay. But I say this because these are my honest thoughts. And again, I'm not trying to get personal. You notice I keep the observations to the issues at hand. And I don't think anything negative about anybody personally. But the facts are what they are. Akeem writes, morning, don't be a tap dancing Negro for the desperate housewives of Hyde Park. I'll keep that in mind. I'll keep that in mind. The desperate housewives of Hyde Park. Listen, the desperate housewives of Hyde Park did something right. From what I was told, they started organizing months ago, right? And they started organizing for their viewpoint. And again, what I would tell people is, why can't you and your friends and your family and the concerned people to feel the way you do? Why can't they do the same thing? Somebody writes, play the clip of Ben Lindy saying that he won't eat lunch. Yeah. Somebody saw, I wasn't aware of this, because if I was, I really would have asked Ben about this. But apparently Ben Lindy, if you go back to the board meeting that was it wasn't the 20th, it was the one before that. And all the board members were meeting in person. I think this was the retreat or something like that. And so it came to lunch. And I watched it a couple times, and I'm trying to glean what the understanding of it is. Okay, so I'll play it. And apparently Ben Lindy, he expressed some concerns about eating with his colleagues without a mask on. And so Julie brought this up yesterday, and other folks have brought it up like, well, hey, you're a hypocrite, Ben, because when it comes to your own personal safety, you're in a room with just 6, 7 other people, and you don't want to take your mask off. But that's exactly what you're asking for children and staff to do with your vote. And if that is a correct description of what went on, okay, well, I think you got a point there. But I'll play it again just to make sure. It was a little bit low, and it happens very, very quickly. But I will play that and we'll get into it. Greg writes, it's not much different. I hear that Chicago teachers are getting ready to strike because their school board wants to reopen schools for in-person learning. Yeah, West Virginia, you say Chicago, I know Florida. I mean, there's examples all over the country where school boards have had to resort to some type of legal action to, in their opinion, protect the health of the teachers. And it boggles the mind. It's just another example of how we disrespect teachers. Like, we would never make these decisions for police officers. Like, when it comes to police officers, it is a known fact that they are the experts of their environment. And the politicians that have sway over police budgets or police oversight, they give police wide latitude that they are the experts of their work experience. We don't do that with teachers. With the teachers, the school board members know better than the people that are on the front line. And in many cases, many of them have never even been teachers before. So, it's just, it's the prerogative of the position, y'all. It is what it is. It is. That's that. People voted on them. You know what I'm saying? People voted on them. And here's the other thing about it is they're going to vote for somebody. Say, here's the other thing about it. All this belly aching about these school board members, I'm cynical about it. Because the election for at least 4 of them, and I know Pam Bowers, I don't want to speak on. I think Pam Bowers, Ryan Lindy, and 2 others are, Eve Bolden and 1 other is up for re-election this year. I can't remember. But I know how voters are. Voters are fickle. And this whole thing could go 2 ways. So let's say that the judge denies the injunction and CPS's plan proceeds tomorrow, okay? If everything is cool, if the infection rate continues to go down, if there's no major outbreak, if the variant doesn't have a negative impact to local public health, and the sun is shining in June, and people are in the streets eating hot dogs and drinking beer and having a good old time the way Cincinnatians like to do, nobody's going to be thinking about a school board decision in February, new or late January. No one's going to be thinking about that. This is really only going to have an impact if it goes south. Now, if it goes south and CPS has to do 1 or 2 things. One is that they have to go back to remote learning. This is going to look really bad on those school board members. Now, what I'm hoping happens is the former. I'm hoping that if we go back or whenever we go back, everything is cool. Nobody gets super sick. Nobody dies. The variant of COVID-19 doesn't come to Cincinnati and have a negative impact, and all is good and everybody's happy. That's what I'm hoping. Okay, so that's a real possibility. We went from purple to red, and then the numbers that are coming out in the last week, the last even few days, is that, all of those indicators are trending in the right direction. You better believe these school board members will be on their knees at night praying that things go that way. For a couple reasons. I think number 1, because of health. And number 2, then, it supports their position and their decision. That's one way. The other way is in 4 weeks, we're right back where we are. It could be a sick out by the teachers. And so now you find yourself in the same position that you were again as a school district where you got to close because of staffing issues. These things could happen. But this idea that this is going to have a lasting impact on, let's say, Carolyn Jones. Carolyn Jones isn't up for re-election for another 2-3 years. And who's going to be thinking about this in 2 or 3 years unless something catastrophic happens? So I know how voters are. People are up in arms right now. In 6 months, it can be completely different. And, that's why I want to just stay with the facts and stay with what we're doing in hand. If parents decide to posse up and form PACs and politically minded civic organizations and all this kind of stuff, they should go ahead and do that. I support it. But Do I think that this is going to have a ramification on the electability of these individuals? As I sit here right now, I say no. I have to say no because I know Cincinnati. I know people. And people are real upset for a couple minutes, and then they go back to their lives. They forget all about it. It is what it is. Sheila writes, good morning, everybody. Renee's in the house. She writes, good morning. Hey, what's going on, Renee? Is your mother? How's your mother? Hope she's doing well. I saw you posted on Facebook. Brian writes, good morning. Joe Whittle writes, morning, Nate and the Choppers. Chris Bug Davis writes, good morning. Brandy writes, good morning. Hey, good to see you, Brandy. Chris. Charles writes, Grand Risings, Nate and the Choppers. Good morning to you. Tony writes, good morning. Rick Junette writes, good morning, Choppers. Hey, good to see you. Good to see you. Alicia writes, happy Monday, Nathan and the Choppers. I noticed the CPS issue is all over the local news. The Nathan Ivy Show breaking the story and leading the way. Good to you, Nathan. Yeah, I was told that local news picked up on it. That's great. That is great. Cool. Feel free. As long as we can spread the word that there is to keep the conversation going, to make people think. As I told you before, I'm your friendly neighborhood agent provocateur. I want to provoke some thought, get us critically thinking. I haven't seen it, but I heard about it. So it's all good. It's all good. You know, that's why we out here doing what we do. That's why we out here doing what we do. Nat writes, good morning, Facebook Choppers. Good morning to you. Renee writes, we see you. Good morning to you. Greg writes, sounding good. Great. Looking good, sounding good in terms of the quality of it. Not asking you to judge me. Let's see. Tiff writes, good morning. Eb G writes, good morning, great people. What's up, Eb G? How you doing? Kush writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers, with a Z. TNT writes, snowball fights with my kids. Oh, beautiful things. Beautiful things. Greg writes, yeah, your son like to play in the snow. That's not quite enough snow to go sledding, but he can make snowballs. The wifey took him down to there's a park where we live at with some plastic garbage bags, and they sledded and did that whole thing for a little bit. Yeah, I mean, at 6, he's fascinated by the snow, like fascinated. Renee writes, praise God. Anthony writes, glad to hear Mama's doing better, Nate. Yeah, well, we would have preferred for her to stay in her nursing facility, but her insurance ran out. We filed an appeal. The appeal was denied, so she had to move out, or it was $500 a day or $400 a day. So Chairman Mom was like, she was willing to pay it, at least for a day. She's like, I'm just giving $10 a month is her exact words. But we got to end up getting her up out of there. Actually, my younger brother, who has a truck, picked her up in the snow on Saturday and made sure she got home. So, that's what your children should do for you. So I'm pleased that she's at home, obviously. But I'm just concerned. So we set it up so she's going to have a nurse coming in and out for the next 2 to 3 months and then perhaps long term, because she lives by herself and still needs some assistance. But again, she's not unconscious, intubated. That's a terrible thing. You walk in and see your mother, the vessel that you were that brought you into this world is completely out of it, not even breathing on her own. You talk about emotional. Psh, listen, bruh. Thank you so much, TNT. Lisa writes, Nate, my heart dropped. You cannot say transition, but glad your mom is better. Oh, I said transition? Oh, yeah. I didn't mean that kind of transition. I meant the transition from the nursing home. So she was at the hospital to the nursing home. She started wilding out the hospital. Wilding out. I'm like, Chairman Mom. I do actually. Yeah. She started wilding out, y'all. Thank you, love. She started wilding out. Talking about how she gonna have her sons come up here and kick people's asses, calling the nurses bitches. I'm like, whoa. My sister called me like, all frantic, like, you gotta talk to your mama. I'm like, what's going on? So then she put the phone in. She was wilding out. Come over here right now. I want you to whoop this nurse's ass, is what she said. I'm like, Ma, we ain't doing that. At first I'm like, why? What they do, right? Because as you would with anybody you care about. she was wilding out because she didn't want to be in that particular hospital. That particular hospital is not her favorite. So she pressed the buttons. They got up out of here quick. I was happy too because, people abuse your folks in there. You get the wrong nurse, they like, oh, I'm going to be today. Okay. Yeah, I think we're going to make some mistakes with your care today. We don't want that to happen. It happens. Janice writes, if you don't want your child to return to school, apply to homeschool. What excuse is given? Your child will not be considered a truant. Trust a suggestion. Okay. All right. Akeem writes, much safer than sending them to school, learning, in-school learning. Michael writes, fam, the clowns are out. Somebody stole my Cadillac converter. Just a heads up. Really? Damn. And your car was in the driveway? Kelly writes, good morning, all. Good morning to you, Kelly. Diana writes, wow, the picture is so clear. Looks great. Great. Edward writes, I'm with the teachers. Me too. Janice writes, years ago, the CFT president would have been on the news every day. Sandra writes, Nathan Ivy, here is a video of Lindy. Yeah. People are not playing with this video. They are not playing with Ben Lindy about this video. Let me see if we can find this and play it. Hold on 1 second here. Thank you, Lord. Is it collagen in here? Can you bring it to me? Thank you. Yeah, I'm doing that collagen every day. You should too. When you get over 35, 40, your body stops producing it. You should be ingesting some on a regular basis. I can make some suggestions. Put it in your tea. You can put it in your smoothies. I get the unflavored type because I'm on that anti-sugar kick right now. All right, let me go to YouTube. And I believe this is in the public domain, CPS Board of Education. What's the time frame on this? Let me see here. Y'all want to see this? People, 3 hour, 19 minute mark. So let me go to the 3 hour, 19 minute mark in this video and see what actually happened. I did look at it twice and I was like, I really wasn't like up in arms, but I didn't really hear exactly everything he said. So this is the infamous Ben Lindy clip. Ben Lindy is the newest member of the school board. He was my guest on Friday. We spoke for about, 40. You okay? Sorry about that. Don't you hate it when you stub your toe on something? Yikes. Sorry, wifey. I got some stuff in front door of the office here. Thank you. So let me play this. So it came up yesterday. And again, this is my first time hearing it. I'm like, what? I ain't seen. I'd heard people talking about something, but I wasn't really clued in on it. Let me see if we can pull it up right here and play this for you. And you can find this on YouTube. Let me see here. We got the full screen up. Okay, let me play this for you. You tell me what you think. Oh, he said it. He got up and left the room to go in an isolated room. So apparently Ben Lindy felt some kind of way about. So here's a video. This video was taken from the school board meeting on January 16th, 2020. So the second, 2 meetings ago. And apparently people are saying that this is Ben Lindy showing how concerned he is about his own personal safety as relates to COVID. And then people were like, well, how can you feel that way about your personal safety? But then you're going to send kids, especially kids in Walnut Hills High School, where I think he graduated from, into classrooms where they're going to be in the same circumstances, if not closer. And you didn't want to deal with it, Ben Lindy, right? I think that's the gist of what this is. So let me play this for you. You tell me what you think. Y'all ready? All right, let's rotate.
Oversight. Yes, so we got that one. Great. Fantastic. And did you have another?
No, that's it.
Awesome. So yeah, that's right. It's kind of getting down into, I'd say, one of the opportunities as you move forward is potentially figure out your avatar on the board and how you want to go. So I know we're supposed to be a working lunch. So our next exercise is to try to come to a collective board shield. But what I'd love to do, because I work for food, I'm highly motivated. Highly motivated by continuous intake of caloric, good focused meal, is give us a few minutes to grab your lunch. Maybe take 5-10 minutes, and if you would like to eat in room, you can eat in room or out of the room if you're not comfortable that way. But grab your lunch, have your break, and then we're going to come back and talk about our role as a board on our own shield, and that will then dovetail us into the conversation, and we'll then transition right into the next segment on the agenda, which is around our envisioning CPS work. Okay? Thank you. So we'll take formally, do we want to, Ms. Jones, give a specific amount of time?
Let me ask folks first, because we wanted to allocate enough time for the discussion. So if are there people who would prefer to eat outside, or are you okay just kind of nibbling at your seat? Is that good? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
So then I'll...
My only thought was, so my wife and I don't eat out in restaurants during COVID, and so I was just thinking about people's masks and things. Like, I'm always a little uncomfortable around people eating.
Well, then, okay.
But I also really want to honor like getting back. And so I don't know what the right answer is, but I'd like to help.
Let's just take 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
Okay? Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. So 10-minute break.
Well, first I detected some black girl magic straight from Wakanda. That's who the sister was, but she was looking sharp, sis, looking sharp. Loving it. Loving the hair. That's number one. But so, yeah, I did hear. Okay, so Ben Lindy says, he raises his hand and he says, listen, me and my wife don't eat out during COVID. So I'm I feel a certain way about eating around his colleagues during COVID without a mask on. So now I see it. So that was very, very clear. But from what I'm getting from teachers is that kids are going to be eating in the classroom every single day without a mask on. So it begs the question, why is it okay for the children and the staff to eat under those circumstances and not a school board member who's making a decision? I think that's fair. From what I'm grim, let me look at it again. This is going to be my third time this morning looking at it. But from what I'm getting, I understand why that was brought up yesterday. I really do. I wish I would have seen it beforehand. In any subsequent conversations, I'm going to lead with that with Ben Lindy. We're going to start right there because it's not consistent. Like I told you, leadership, real leadership, will never ask someone to do something that they're not willing to do. I would never. If I feel that way about eating with my mask on, with colleagues, how in good conscience can you make a decision to send other people into a scenario that you are uncomfortable about? It defies logic. It defies logic, right? Yeah, Ben should have to explain himself on that one. It doesn't make any sense. I don't care. Anybody says if what I'm hearing correctly, and again, that's my third time, I might play it one more time. But if you yourself are insecure about eating around other grown people, your colleagues, only 7 of them, and then you had the sister straight from Wakanda that was leading the training, right? And Wakandians, they are just resistant to COVID. We already know that. So, that sister was cool, right? But if you're insecure about it, how in good conscience can you vote to send the teachers and the students into a scenario that you wouldn't put yourself in? It boggles them. That's why I told you, it boggles the mind. It boggles the mind. I don't know. I can't remember what she said about Ben Lindy. She said, and by she, I'm talking about Julie Sellers. She said that she brought that up some point, maybe in the media or something, and then she said Ben Lindy gave her a call and said that he's willing to volunteer in the schools. Yeah, that's cool. I think every school board member should have to volunteer in a school. If they can, I know that right now CPS they got the word out there. If you go to CPS administration's Facebook page, they're putting the word out there looking for teachers and volunteers. Every school board member that voted for this should have to go volunteer in the school at minimum, because you should be willing to put your life in the same position you're asking these folks to put their life in. To me, that's how I look at the world. It's real. People say, oh, this is complex. No, it's not. The details, right, in terms of making sure you got the support systems might be complex. But the decision is simple. It's public safety or something else. They keep saying, oh, it's such a difficult conversation. No, it's not. It's very simple. It's public safety or some other factor. That's all it comes down to. Public safety or some other factor or factors. And to me, during the pandemic, public safety should be paramount. It should be number one. So I played it for you. What do you think? Emmy writes, what time do they go to court? I believe they're in court right now. They're in court right now, Emmy. And so what I'm hoping is that we'll get a decision sometime today, and we'll get a sense of what you need to do to plan. Again, as of right now, plan for your kids to go to school. Plan for whatever you got to do, plan for your kids. Today's going to be haircut day. You know what I'm saying? Do whatever you got to do, get your supplies up. I can make some recommendations. I mean, it's a little bit late at this point, but just moving forward, it's never too late to be eating nutritious. But I can make some recommendations on what you can do naturally to build up your body's immune system. That goes for the students, for the children. That goes for everybody in the household. Good gut biotics. Good gut biotics. That's one thing you can do. What you eat, you can naturally build up your immune system. It's not going to necessarily prevent you from getting COVID, but it could have an impact on how your body deals with it. Exercising every day, building up that natural immunity system. So even if you get COVID, because I'm one of those people that likes to hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. So hoping for the best is one thing. Preparing for the worst means working out on a regular basis, staying hydrated, staying away from the sugar, getting you a little bit of a walk in every day, 15, 20, 35 minutes every single day, right? Eating the right foods, staying away from the sugar. The sugar wrecks your gut biotics, just so you know. That's why one of the many reasons why I don't F with sugar like that anymore. Remove the sugar from your diet altogether. It's killing your health. You're killing yourself. One little tablespoon at a time. You don't need it. There are some alternatives like monk fruit. Go get yourself some monk fruit. You don't want to abuse that either, but it's better for you. It's not going to have the same negative impact to your body. It's not going to spike your blood sugar. It's not going to impact your negatively your gut biotics. It's not going to do any of that kind of stuff. I can go on for days to days for this because it's a very, very near and dear subject to my heart, but I won't. Let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Mr. Ivy. This is your West Side connection, the Black Not Democrat, Buff Squad 52. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Ivy. I just watched the video. Context is very important. CDC guidelines state there will be no indoor dining. So the school board was wrong, not being Lindy. You cannot just set aside the CDC guidelines because you're school board. See, that's that privilege, Mr. Ivy, and it's unacceptable. Ben Lindy was right. The CDC guidelines said you do not sit in an enclosed room and dine. At least that's the rules out here in California. You got to go outside and eat. You cannot sit in an enclosed room with the mask off in the COVID. I can't believe you, Mr. Ivy. Why is Ben Lindy wrong?
Yeah, I think you're missing something. The reason why it's fair to call Ben Lindy to the carpet on this is because here in Cincinnati, the children, the students will be eating indoors without a mask. They'll be in their classrooms, not even the cafeteria. They'll be in their classrooms when they eat without a mask with their teacher.
Because children are not spreading the COVID-19 virus, Mr. Ivy. Science says that. Why do you think Joe Biden is talking about opening up the schools in the next 100 days? It's the same science that the Trump administration had. And also,
can I stop you right? Can I just interject something real quick?
Yes, sir.
So you just asked me a question, so I want to ask you a question. You asked me, why do you think that Joe Biden is talking about and planning to open the schools within the next 100 days? Is that correct?
Yes,
So
sir.
my question for you is, why do you think that Joe Biden is not saying that he wants to open the schools by February 1st?
Because most of the schools that are having trouble opening are from communities that are run by Democrats. Not
Wrong
necessarily
answer.
The entire
the right
state,
answer is because it wouldn't be safe.
Mr. Ivy, do you know what's going on in Chicago?
No, enlighten me. What's going on in Chicago?
Well, Mary Lori Lightfoot is fed up because she knows that the money is going to come from Washington, D.C., whether the Republicans go along with the $1.9 trillion package, which contains bailout for large cities and their efforts to fight COVID, which includes money to open up schools for a lot of different reasons. Because in Chicago, the school teachers, they want to defund the police. They want other social issues to be met in order for them to go back to school. And that's why in certain municipalities, they know the money is coming from Washington, D.C. So they're telling their schools, open up, get these kids back to school. Now, again, Ohio, I know that's a local issue, Mr. Ivy, but the fact still remains that there are schools that are open across this country. Okay, so you already said that there's an injunction that's going to be filed. So I'm pretty sure that the schools are going to be open, and you, with your efforts, with what you're doing locally with the school board and putting the voices of the parents who don't want to send their kids to school is very important. But I'm telling you, Mr. Ivy, coming from Washington, D.C., the CDC guidelines state that you're not supposed to be eating in an enclosed room with adults like at restaurants without your mask. Ben Lindy was 100% right. The school board, the meeting, whoever was the chair of the meeting, which I think you said Miss Cyber Wakanda, shout out to Strong Black Women, she did give the option. She gave the option. But the lady that you had on your show yesterday or the day before, the black lady, the school board member with the short haircut, she was the one that said everybody stay in the room and eat. And that's when Mr. Lindy spoke up and said that he prefer to be away while people don't have their mask on in an enclosed room.
You don't see the hypocrisy in that?
I don't want to, sir?
I say, it sounds like you don't see the hypocrisy in that.
Well, again, Mr. Ivy, I can't really comment on that part of it because that's your opinion. That is your opinion that he's being a hypocrite because he knows what the CDC guidelines are. He knows that children are not spreading the virus. He knows he has this information. It's a totally different comparison that you're trying to say. That, well, Ben Lindy is going to send your kids to school because at that school, they're going to be eating in their classroom. To me, that's two different issues because children do not spread the COVID-19 virus, Mr. Ivy. The science is out there. It says that. Okay, so again, your audience is smart, highly educated, well-informed. I'm sure they're going to trust but verify. But it's a reason that only in certain municipalities, schools are remaining closed when they know that money is going to be coming from Washington, D.C. to take care of some of these things as far as the reasoning why they can't open. So that's all I got, Mr. Ivy. Thank you for the time. And again, it's a very important issue for all the parents and grandparents who have children in the public school system. Because from what I understand, the private schools, the charter schools are not having some of the same problems. So that's all I got. Black Not Democrat, Drop Squad 52, dropping science to anyone who wants to catch it. And stop being politically petty.
Well, I mean, the brother there just doesn't know what he's talking about. He brought up the CDC. I got the CDC's website up right now. As it relates to the question about whether children can spread COVID, and again, to smart people, I don't really need to do this, but I mean to make sure that I combat that nonsense. Children, this is from the CDC's website verbatim. Children, like adults who have COVID-19 but have no symptoms, asymptomatic, can still spread the virus to others. Most children with COVID-19 have mild symptoms or no symptoms at all. So I think the brother was either just blatantly ignorant about what he's talking about, or he's confusing some things. So one thing we know is that when it comes to children in COVID-19 is that they seem to have not exhibit the same severity of symptoms. And in some cases, they are what's called asymptomatic. What does that mean? That means that they have no symptoms whatsoever. But per the CDC's website, which I'm on right now, COVID-19 in children and teens, you can look at it for yourself. It's clear that children can spread coronavirus. I don't know what that brother's talking about. Ben Lindy is a hypocrite, period. It's hypocritical for you to vote to send children and adults to eat in an environment that you're not willing to eat in yourself. It's hypocritical. I'm just saying, straight up. Especially if we're talking about prior to anybody being tested. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm sorry, anybody getting vaccinated. So it is what it is. I mean, that brother didn't know what he was talking about. So I didn't trust it, and I verified it. You know what you're talking about when you call into the show. You're spreading this misinformation about kids can't transmit COVID. That is a lie. That's fake news. To use your boy drop, that's fake news. Stop it. Stop it. Ballhead writes, good morning. Good morning to you. Brian's writes, when do you think the virus will be fully eradicated? I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I don't know. Could be the end of the year. I think to flip that question, though, Brian, is we know that the virus is nowhere near fully eradicated at all at this point, because we're just in the early stages of teachers and staff getting COVID-19. And then in the Black community in particular, and see, here's where we get to the sensitivities along racial lines. I just read a report that said statewide that Black folks are far less likely to get the vaccine due to a lot of things: access to health care, their view of the medical industry and as it relates to the Black family. And who is the majority of the people, of the students in CPS? They are African American. They are Black. So, I mean, it sounds like this is setting up to be an issue. That's what it sounds like, but we'll see. Hey, Mrs. Love being Black, hey, good to see you. She writes, good morning, fellow beautiful, smart people. Good to see you. She writes, thank you, Nate. Almost deaf. Tony writes, great idea for Black History Month. Oh, yeah. I'm going to bring some local historians on to talk about notable Black Cincinnatians so we can understand our foundation and roots. Look for that. Look for that this week, as a matter of fact. Lemaine writes, they continue to try and destroy us, but they can't. Hold on one second here. I want to make sure. Hold on. I'm going to do it this way. Hey, Otis, if you're listening, bro, I'm going to email you that link. Make sure you can get in today. Hold on one second, folks. We have another guest coming in, scheduled for today. Also this week, we're going to catch up with Rob Richardson Jr. He's got I haven't heard the story. He just kind of teased it to me. You know, everybody's been talking about corruption, and he says he's got some insights into some of the corruption that's happening in the city of Cincinnati, but it's not coming from city council. And if you don't know, you should check him out on his podcast. It's called Disruption Now. He's doing good work, disrupting the narratives, telling our narratives from our community, from the Black perspective. So make sure you check him out on Disruption Now. I'm not sure what day it is. I'll confirm with him later today. It may be tomorrow. Tomorrow is what I think we set it up for. Also, I'm scheduled to speak with Eve Bolton tomorrow as well. She's a school board member, and looking forward to that. Yeah, I want to hear, wait. I want to hear all the tea, all the dirt. I want to hear it. Nat writes, just got back from ATL. This snow made me want to stay, LOL. TNT writes, schools need ventilation for the deadly airborne disease. You cannot place people in unmasked classrooms. They need to address those exception students, preschool special needs. My preschool age cousin goes to school in person, no mask for her class. She is coughing, sneezing, everything. How do you keep away from a baby who might have COVID? You cannot. You cannot. Lemmy writes, can CFT get support from Cincinnati business community? They are very helpful when Cincinnati school need help with the levy. Charles writes, exactly. It's about the money. What's up, Medium Buddha? Brian writes, striking is an option. Strikes are aren't bound by law. Workers can do what they want. Dale writes, replying to Nat, LOL, yeah, it's cold here, but I'm not used to y'all type of snow. Don't miss that at all. After 16 years, I have made the transition to full acclimation in southern weather. Is that right? Let's go back to the phones and say good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, dear brother. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good morning, Sister Iris.
Good.
Welcome.
Hey, I just wanted to check in real quick. You said you had a guest, but I wanted to see if we could walk and chew gum at the same time, and I know that we can because the Choppers and all of your listeners, whether it's on Facebook or in Spreaker, they have great questions, and this is what participatory democracy looks like. You got to speak up, you got to be present, you got to know the facts, and just want to thank you for doing that around the school board as it has been changing and turning and coming up with ideas. I think my biggest complaint at this particular juncture is that we've been talking to the board as well. And, we've been doing that on our Woke Wednesday conversation so that communities can have information to make informed decisions about their families and their children. They belong to you first, nobody else. You're the first, you're the first, you're the first. And I think that what really bothers me, what really gets up under my skin is that all of these ideas and suggestions, most of everybody that I see making suggestions and come up with ideas are people who will do things. And what I don't like is the ability to shun a community away and to talk to us as if we don't understand things that should make sense to us about decisions that you're making, whether it is, you say, intended for our children or with our tax dollar. We should be present on that conversation. So I want to thank you for continuing to stay on that. And as this thing has twisted and turned its way today into court. The second thing I want to just make aware, if I can, Mr. Ivy, tonight is CCA's virtual board meeting. And there is a very important case that all of us have been following since 2019. And it was the case of the officer at Brownstone calling the sister the N-word. And although he has been disciplined and we watched all that play out in public, what happened from when the chief decided to discipline him for discriminatory statement to that being retracted based on a technicality, and then Dan Hill's coming out with the brother from another incident that said the N-word to a group of Black people, saying, hey, if you're going to discipline this brother this way, then discipline the white guy at Brownstone the same way. Two separate contexts. However, what we also saw, which was extremely egregious to me, is what city changed Administrative Code 25, the policy that talks about the use of hate language and racial slurs. And so I don't know if you remember this, Mr. Ivy, but now the policy says you get if Nathan calls Iris one, whether you're a city employee, police, it doesn't matter, fire, waterworks, engineering, billing, any of that. They can call you a racial slur. You have to be the one to prove it, and then they can get disciplined. And if they say it again, it's up to some firing. Well, now it's time, since the sister's case has been sustained by the Citizens Complaint Authority on her allegations of this derogatory hate-filled language, is that we move to help the city change its code, Administrative Code 25. And that's the importance of why we wanted to have the Citizens Complaint Authority, so these things can come to light. Even though 2 years ago it was done, that officer basically got away with what he did, because guess what happened then? He got disciplined. He took it to the arbitrator. So why is that important today, Nathan? It's important today because we were able to penetrate the FOP contract and change the way arbitration is done. We just did that last month. So I want to connect the dots. It's more than just going to a meeting. It's understanding the history of the Citizens Complaint Authority. It's understanding the Administrative Code 28, what they're supposed to do, the staff and the board and the citizens. This is our work. This is what we design, and this is what we wanted to have. So that is tonight at 5 p.m. And if anyone wants the link, I will send you the link. Please join us. We did meet yesterday as a community to come up with our own questions as to what happened in this case. And then there are 3 short memos for review tonight on some unfounded allegations. So you need to be aware. The third thing I wanted to raise up, because it came up today in the media, was the no-knock warrant language. And the way that the story was written by Cameron Knight in the Enquirer, I don't expect any journalism from there, but I do expect the facts and the truth. And the way that it's written is that, one, what we proposed is not to ban no-knock. And I've been on here and we've been talking about that and the reasons why. In some instances, it is relevant. Kidnappings, sex trafficking, someone harming themselves, a murder, those things. If someone kidnaps Iris, I want you all to tell the police to use every tool within their arsenal to get me out of harm's way. So I want folks to know that we're still working on that. It goes back in front of Law and Public Safety, I think within 2 weeks. I spoke to the vice mayor about it. We're speaking to David Mann today about it. You all know that we brought in a plethora of community and community nationally to help us rewrite what no-knock looked like in the city of Cincinnati for the city of Cincinnati. And even though it wasn't priority, it was the right thing to do after Breonna Taylor's murder in Louisville. So I just wanted to raise those other 2 things, and then certainly tell you your ass is a bomb. That conversation with Julie Sellers yesterday was right on time as this thing has taken its turn to this particular juncture. And so when I asked you yesterday if it was okay to reach out to her to have her on Work Wednesday. So if folk want to hear additionally from Julie, or if you have any questions from what you heard yesterday with the Mr. Nathan Ivey and Miss Julie Sellers, be prepared to come Wednesday, ask your questions, and let's be educated and let's move collectively in the best interest of our children. And that is only if you are informed. Thank you, Nate. And I sent you the information on CCA. You got it in your email. You got the cases. You got the link. You got CBUF Leaders of the Free World Goals. You got our full funding letter that we sent to the city in 2020 of fully funding the Citizens Complaint Authority and the reasons why. Now it's time to stay on top of these things and make sure this stuff doesn't go backwards to ensure equity, fairness, and accountability in our police department. I appreciate you for letting me go this morning, dear brother. Hopefully I'll see you tonight at 5.
Oh, you already know. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it. And the info.
Thank you.
And I did receive the emails. So that you'll talk to Julie. Julie Sellers will be on with Woke Wednesdays. And as I told her, I mean, it's about the community. Get the information out there. It's no difference. I mean, we can have multiple forums where we talk with the same people. I don't think there's any loss in that. It's only a gain for the community. So looking forward to it. And I'm probably going to catch up with Julie again between now and then. There were some things she brought up yesterday. I want to follow up with her after this decision, especially if the decision is to continue with CPS plan. Don't be surprised if you see her again real soon here on the show. So looking forward to it. The more the merrier. Oh, absolutely. I did see that article that was written by Cameron Knight. Obviously, I did. I'm up on the latest that's happening in the city of Cincinnati. And essentially, I'm glad she clarified that. She came on the show a couple of weeks back with all the folks involved with that, including the member of City Council, Chris Silbach. They were all here with us for about 30 minutes. They broke it all down. It's not a ban totally. It's a reform. They're reforming it. And from what I can remember, it all makes sense. And then it went to Law and Public Safety, and the chair of Law and Public Safety seemed to have an issue with it Someone described it as a pissing match, right? Because apparently Chris Silbach didn't run it past the vice mayor and law and public safety beforehand. They didn't have a conversation before it. And then there was some conversation about whether the police chief should be involved in the conversation as well. And then ultimately that decision will be made by the city manager per the charter. But the city manager works at the pleasure of who? The mayor and the council. So we'll see what happens. 513. I'll keep my eyes on it. And as you know, so will Sister Iris as well. 513-873-7134. If you'd like to share your thoughts. I'm with her. If you're going to talk about it in the correct way. Don't just put out half the story. You know what I'm saying? Put the whole story out there if you're going to do it. April writes, Children's is a part of it. Read their website about COVID and its testing. Right. Brenda writes, great interview yesterday, Nathan. Thank you so much. Danita writes, isn't that a strike isn't an option. They want to still get paid, right, and not get fired. TNT's in the house. She writes, we are in race against a constantly mutating virus and worldwide vaccinations. As long as there is a new host for the virus to infect mildly or severely, it lives. And the numbers we want to see are more vaccinated citizens than hospitalized or dead. Again, let me play something to Julie Sill. I thought Julie made an excellent point yesterday when she answered the question that she said she had been getting from board members. She said the board members were like, well, Julie, we're hearing overwhelmingly from parents that want to get back in school. We're not hearing as much from the parents who don't want to go back in school. And Julie, her point was so completely on point when she said there's a reason why. And the reason why school board and administrators, school board and Laura Mitchell, superintendent, the reason why is because last year, you painstakingly told us a list of criteria that you were going to use to make your decision. It made sense. It was data-driven. It was science-driven. And since we didn't hit that milestone, why would the parents say anything to you? They had no reason to believe they had to. To me, it was a betrayal of the public trust to come up with this criteria and then abandon the criteria because you feel as if, with really no explanation, in my opinion, not enough of an explanation, because you, and by you, I'm talking about the administration and the school board of Cincinnati Public Schools, you feel as if it's no longer necessary. That is a betrayal of the public trust. That explains why parents weren't letting their voice be heard louder, is because they had no reason to, because you gave them a set of criteria to look for. Like I said, I spoke with the superintendent. Me and Donnie B teamed up, and we talked with the superintendent. And a part of that process was to get the criteria as to what should we expect. So you sub this criteria, and then you turn your back on it. And yeah, I know that there was some updating from the governor's office, but still, you turned your back on it. And that's when parents felt as if, oh, wait a minute, they're not going back what they said earlier. So they could have did a better job of explaining that process, all the way through the process, not just when you get at the end, but explaining it like, hey, there could be a fork in the road here. And then not surveying the parents, I think, was a big mistake. Survey the parents. You've got POSSIP. POSSIP is, and it's just so funny because I had just come across POSSIP. POSSIP is I don't know if it's an app. It's a service. It's actually some Black excellence types backstories. A Black female that started this business called POSSIP. Positive Gossip is what it stands for. I do my homework. And she started this many years ago as what she thought could be a way for organizations, in particular schools, to get information from the public. Text messaging is a great way to reach everybody. Some would say far more effective than emails, far more effective than social media. So it's a text messaging based kind of software and service. And I just read that she'd been out here for a couple of years, the woman behind it, and then she got some funding. And I was reading the article about the funding maybe like 2 months before I got a POSIP message from CPS as a parent. I'm like, oh, they're using POSIP now. They're using POSIP. Great. That's a good idea. So you've got POSIP. Why didn't they use it? What's the use of paying for services if you're not going to use them during emergent situations? The only thing I can come up with is I think the board would have found the conclusions to the responses to be inconvenient to their decision to want to go back to school. That's the only thing I can come up with. That's the only thing I can come up with, but that's just me. What do you think? 513-873-7134. Hey, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Nathan. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Fam. Welcome.
Oh, well, at least one of us is, because I'm effing disgusted. I'm listening to your program, and you had the audacity to give Mike Morosky any type of plaudits. He's on the school board. He doesn't have the cachet and the sway amongst his colleagues to switch them, to change at least one other person's mind. He's just as useless as the rest of them. That's what I'm saying. That was a setup. That was the setup. He's not alone. He's just looking like a lone wolf in this. He's with them. School boards play those type of games with the public. Since he's got the newborn, the infant, he has to look like he doesn't want this to happen. But even if he genuinely don't want the kids to go back to school, you can't convince one of those other 6 to come on your side. You're useless as a school board member because you can't talk common sense to your colleagues. What do we need you for? You understand what I'm saying? I know you're a fan of his. I'm just saying.
No, I'm not a fan of his, but I don't understand where you're coming from with this. This is just you on your own on this one.
Oh, okay, fine. Like I said, 7 school board members. Majority rules. He's over here by himself saying that he does not want the kids to go back to school. You don't have the ability, Mr. Morosky, to talk another school board member onto your side? And it's 6-1? So that tells me that there might be something afloat behind the school board. That's why I'm glad that lady, Julie Sellers, filed that open records request. He might have just been sent out to the public. These are gang members. They operate like gangs. Speaking of open records, he might have just been sent out to the public to look like, well, at least one of us cares. No, you're a grown man. You're on the school board, and you should have the verbal dexterity to talk at least one other adult onto your side to say, don't send our kids back to school. You don't have that ability. Get the F off the school board, Morosky. You're just as useless as the other 6. And I'm very perplexed how you're okay with this open records request, Nathan, but the one that took down the city councilman, you ain't politically motivated. Why is that?
I'm mad at you now. Now I'm disgusted.
We're holding elected officials accountable.
I'm disgusted. Now I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted at you. I'm disgusted at you, Fame, because you didn't take the time to do a better impersonation of me this morning. If you're going to impersonate me, put the time into it so you can actually catch the quality of my voice.
Okay, I can do it. Here you go. I'm Nathan and I'm 6'4". There.
I'm still disgusted. I'm still disgusted. I'm doubly disgusted now.
Oh, why?
Because, it's like you're doing this impersonation, but you ain't putting no heart into it. You ain't putting no time into it to really develop it. I'm disappointed in you.
I didn't really
now,
I wasn't really, okay.
Yeah, you was doing it off the cuff, and I feel like if you're going to do an impersonation, you should put some time into it before you put it out there before the public. It's just like if you're an actor doing Broadway. Make sure you take the time to learn the script before you get on stage. But to your point about what's the difference? I had no problem with a public records request. I never did. I stand by what I said. I thought the whole Gang of Five thing was nothing more than some politically motivated BS that ultimately really had no impact on anybody's life.
Oh, okay. Okay. We had to find that out though, right?
I'm in the media, man. You know, we love public.
I'm just saying.
We love open records requests.
An open record request is an open record request. It's legal. And, shout out to her. Shout out to Coast.
Shout out to Coast.
Citizens that are up on it like that. Shake ish up a little bit. Keep people accountable. But that's all I got, B. I was just wanted to let you know that this was very painful to listen to. Do not give Mike Morawski any type of props. He's an asshole. Holla.
Thank you for the call, fam. He's Scusted. Look for that Scusted podcast. We're working on it right now. It's called Scusted. Seriously, I ain't joking. I'm dead serious. Should be a lot of fun. I'm not really sure that's the right criteria. I don't believe that's the right criteria to judge Mike Morawski or any other school board member. Their ability to talk sense to people that don't want to hear it. So I got a chance to, and I watched it like 3 or 4 times at this point, to watch that school board meeting. I think Mike could have put some more bass in his voice. He could have definitely put some more bass in his voice. Could have said it with more of his forcefully with his chest. But, to his credit, he raised his concerns. He let his concerns be known. And then he asked the other board members to essentially go on record to give their thoughts about the possibility of postponing the start of in-person learning in March. He said it over and over again. I don't understand what the difference is. I don't understand why we can't do it in March. He said it over and over again. And what we got from the board was what we got from them here, which was they have a preconceived idea that they want to get everybody back in school as quickly as possible. And that superseded safety and logic and common sense and anything else. Period. Even though some board members expressed reservations about the health concerns, they still voted for it. So no, I don't think that's the best way to gauge the effectiveness of a school board member, their ability to sway other people. I mean, that's a part of the job on some levels, but I hold the individuals accountable for their individual thought process and their individual vote. I'm not going to hold Carolyn Jones responsible for how Ben Lindy voted. I'm not going to hold Ben Lindy responsible for how Eve Bolton voted. I'm not going to hold Eve Bolton responsible for how Pam Bowers voted. No, I'm going to hold those individuals responsible for how they voted. I think that's a much more common sense, pragmatic way of looking at it. But Brother Fane remains Scusted. He remains Scusted. Listen, I want to play a clip for you. This is a little bit of a clip from my conversation yesterday with Julie Sellers. If you missed any of it, check this out.
Hey, the CDC says it's safe if you have safety protocols and school is the safest place, but they never finish the entire sentence. And it really bothers me that they take bits and pieces out of context and then they use that as fact. What the CDC says is schools are perfectly safe if you have masks, if you have sanitizing, hand washing, 6 feet of social distancing, and community spread is low. That's the part that's key. Community spread is not low. And when we filed for this injunctive relief, and we'll go into more detail about that, we did reach out to an expert. The people who's working with the district, they are not experts on public health. They are not experts on COVID. They are just pediatricians. And it bothers me that they are sometimes saying some of the things that are kind of irresponsible. But the one doctor did say, no, you have to have 6 feet of social distancing, and that is a must. But I also think that they say there isn't that much transmission within buildings. And I'm not sure how that has really been verified, because if kids are asymptomatic, we don't really know how to track where the COVID came from. We are saying that it's not safe and that schools are safe, but it's not based on any type of research.
Yeah, I was talking with Ben Lindy, and going around in these useless intellectual circles, because he's trying to tell me that there's research out there that suggests that it's safer to be in school than to be at home. And I'm like, wait a minute. There's no research out there that suggests that it's safer to be in a school building at home. And yeah, family. I mean, it blew my mind. I'm like, wait a minute. How you gonna cite a study, and this study is what informs your decision, that says that it's safer to be in school than in the community? And so what? That's not the option. The option is to stay at home or go to school. There is no study out there that suggests that it's safer from COVID to be in a school building than to be at home. It might be safer to be in a school building, to be, I don't know, let's say at Taco Bell for 8 hours. Maybe, but that's not the option. It's not the option. It makes no sense. It's just crazy talk, but it is what it is. We are where we are. Good morning to you. How are you? Letty writes, great morning, Nathan, Ivy, and Choppers. We are 32 days into the year of Black history, and our mindset should be elevated to increase our wealth for our family and our communities. Lack of knowledge, people perish. Let's make this day count. Absolutely. Let's do it. Rick Jeanette writes, Pam Bowers, Ryan Messer, and Mike Morosky are up for re-election. There's one more. Shonda writes, if we allow our elected officials off the hook for not doing the job we sent them to do, we have failed our communities. I, for one, will not let this go. I know Shonda's been doing good work out there with her own live stream. Let us talk to you about that, Shonda. Maybe we can work together in some way. Jenny writes, people are taking recall. Danita writes, they can only be out 5 consecutive days without a doctor's note. Well, just think about it. I mean, and we're talking about weeks here. It's a damn shame that these teachers might have to burn through and again, you use it for emergencies, but it's a damn shame that these teachers may have to burn through their time off because the school board doesn't support their health. It's hilarious to see all these people talking about safety, but posting themselves out in public events with no mask on, parents and teachers alike. Is that right? I haven't seen it. Leah writes, thank you for what you're doing about this topic, Nathan. Oh, absolutely. You already know. Renee writes, I appreciate that. Mom's still in the hospital, slowly recovering, celebrating all the small wins. Praise God. Oh, I believe me. I know. My mother was out and she was just squeezed my hand a little bit. I'm like, damn near in tears. I'm all super hopeful and happy. So I get it. 100%. Danita writes, they absolutely didn't do any work. CPS had to waive eligibility for fall sports because of it. Eligibility is based upon fourth quarter grades. Toy writes, FYI, the Citizens Complaint Authority Board is meeting today at 5 p.m. They'll present completed investigation findings and take public comment on their performance thus far. Okay. See, Glenn writes, mad props, Nate. You have come through. They have to come through CDM. Speaking of CDM, I want to tell you about, we've been telling you about podcasts. Many podcasts are coming. We want to expand our repertoire as much as possible and amplify voices. But here is a brand new podcast coming as well. It's called Melanin Insights, hosted by Britt and Cass. Coming soon. You'll hear it very soon. Hosted by 2 sisters. And they give their insights on their world and the world around them. That's the Melanin Insights podcast. Also, don't forget later today at 12 noon, Tiffany Daniels, Community Connector. All right. Don't forget. Check us out. Chelly writes, good morning. Jesse writes, LOL. Jenny writes, if you homeschool, you lose your spot at your magnet school. Right. That makes sense. Let me see. And people are foolish to want to send their kids to school with all of that. Potential COVID walking in the building, not fully immunize the staff, and no testing for students or teachers unless they show symptoms. Just brilliant. But she doesn't mean that like it's really smart. It's the opposite. I think she means it's the opposite of brilliant. Because it is. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense. I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again. But we are where we are. Hold on, it's 10. And I got to make a move. I've got 2 hours until we start the next podcast. I want to make sure we're straight. I'm also looking for information about this court case. So you should see something today on that. You know, either a judge is going to grant the injunction or they're not. Real simple. We'll find out later today. Local news here to see if anything comes up that I can share with you before I make this move. Black Lives Matter movement nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. Okay. Nobel Peace Prize. All right. I mean, I think people should get recognized for the work that they do. I'm not sure what that will really mean. It'll raise the visibility of Black Lives Matter, maybe connect them to more donors, things like that. Maybe take the issues they care about to a bigger platform internationally. What is that going to mean stateside? I don't know, if anything. Mika writes, there are parents that do not want to be with their children. It's sad and very real. You're right about that, Mika. It is. It is. Tony writes, Nate, I already shared off air that my mom is in a similar situation. She's widowed, lived by herself, and just recently recovered from COVID. Me, my siblings, and the eldest grandkids are constantly circling around, looking over her well-being. I understand. Believe me, I get it. I get it 100%. Kev writes, told you to ask Lindy about touring the schools. He basically said he wasn't going to be where the kids are. Them, not me. Right. Leah writes, he backtracked after getting caught saying he didn't want to eat in the room and said he'd be willing to go to schools to help with lunch. Right. Yeah, but his first impulse was, I don't want to be here because it's not safe. That's very telling. That's very telling. Amina's in the house. She writes, Mika Terry, so a parent who has to work every day to put food on the table and pay rent to keep roof over their child's head wants their child in school because they don't want to be around them. I don't think that's what she was saying, Amina. I think that there is, and I think it's a small number of them, but I think there are some parents that it's more of an inconvenience than anything else for their kids to be home every single day. I think that you got different classifications. You got another class of parents, and by class, maybe that's the wrong way of putting it, but you got another level of parents or group of parents who it's a work thing. You know, they love their kids. They ain't got no problem. Even their kids, it's making work and their ability to bring that money in nearly impossible, making it very, very difficult. And I'm empathetic to all of that. I'm empathetic to all of it but I think that the most important thing still is public health. Still is public health, but I get it. Let me see. I want to hear Sellers call him out. Oh, when she called out Ben Lindy. Let me see if I can find that. Oh, she definitely put him on blast. It was what needed to happen.
And all masks off. Do you want your child who's in kindergarten or your child in the 10th grade sitting in a classroom eating their lunch? Ben Lindy absolutely said during that retreat they were supposed to be having a working lunch, and he did not realize his mic was hot, and he says, we have to take a break. I do not feel comfortable taking my mask off and eating in a room where there are other people. That was it, with 10 people in that big, huge banquet room. You've been in the banquet room at the Ed Center. That's that really large room where they have meetings and the capacity is 100. I've had meetings with 120 people in that room, and there was still space. And so it's a very large room, and they had 10 people, and he made them take a break so he could go to a different room to take off his mask and eat his lunch. Now, that is hypocrisy.
Wow. I did not know that, Julie. I just talked with Ben on Friday. Had I known that, I would have pressed him on that 100%. Are you really? Yeah, so that was the comment that she made about Ben Lindy. I mean, I look for it myself, and yeah, he's there. Now he didn't call for the break because you get, when people are trying to get off the hook, they'll take any little mistake or flub of the word to try to focus on that. They were breaking anyway. He raised his hand and then said, "Listen, me and my wife don't eat out during COVID. That's because I feel some way about taking my mask off around other people and eating around other people." So I think that those criticisms are fair. Nat writes, Lindy looking like a hypocrite. Fair question. I don't know what Drop was talking about. I have no idea. He was on some other stuff. Drop writes, eating outside is a CDC guideline that the school board chose to not follow. Okay, brother. Not sure how that's relevant, but okay. Okay, Shaggy, as Scooby-Doo might say. Let me see. Yo writes, he should call in to defend himself. I'd love to hear his response. I doubt that's going to happen. Jessica writes, it is hard for single parents. It is very difficult for single parents. It is. You know what I'm saying? Because, it's a challenge, and I got a wife, and we doing it together. So for a single parent, it is very difficult. I get it, but people know how I feel about that. Maquita writes, Group A and B share the same partitions. There is not enough for each kid to get their own. Angela writes, money. Sarah writes, public schools get money for putting butts in seats. April writes, their safety versus public safety. Willie writes, he's in the house. Good to see you, Willie. Jessica writes, we need help with kids at homeschool. It just goes on and on and on. I appreciate you. 513. April writes, the CDC is full of it too. People don't trust the CDC. Listen, I appreciate you 100% for being here today. I really, really do. Please lift up this show and like, and in particular, share it so that people can see the conversation. I'm scheduled to speak with Eve Bolton tomorrow. We might talk to Rob Richardson Jr. as well. He's got some interesting information that may not be out there in the public as it relates to some of the real scandals and real corruption that's taking place here in the city of Cincinnati that nobody's really talking about. That's all coming up tomorrow. Before we roll out, though, another word from our sponsor this morning. If you're looking for a dream home or you're looking to buy an apartment or maybe some commercial property, then give Otis Wellborn Jr. and his team a call.
It's that Wellborn experience. It's that Wellborn experience. The Wellborn experience. 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 It's that Wellborn experience. The Wellborn experience. The Wellborn experience. Experience. Tell us what you need. That's the question we start with. We specialize selling condos, houses, apartments. Make sure that you're happy with your residence. Keep it real, no filter. Otis, the realtor from the nattiest heaven sent. It's the Wellborn experience. Ain't nothing like it. Every time he talk to his client, he's so excited just knowing he able to put them in a place to lay their head. Not focusing on his profits, but on the client instead. Right. He keeps it so professional and from his conversation. You can tell he studies before sharing information. Educated, motivated, ain't nobody better. Who's willing to walk you through every step to relieve the pressure? Yeah, and just so you know it's real, you get a special personalized rug once he closes the deal. So go and call him up so he can get you live. 513-252-1055.
Again, that's 513-252-1055 this morning. There's a link in today's description on YouTube and Facebook. We'll catch up with Otis tomorrow on the show. All right. Have an excellent rest of your day. I really appreciate you. Make sure you check out Community Connector today at 12 noon. And if you can't watch it live, then put it on your to-do list and circle back around later today and check out the conversation. All right. Thank you so much in advance. Until next time, I'm Nathan Ivy, and I'm out.
Why don't you get it by now? Tell me what you learned in grade school.
The Nathan Ivy Show is supported by listeners. Go to www.patreon.com/Nathan Ivy Show and help Nathan keep the show independent.
Yeah. Talking to my mirror like I love you so much. Curving on my critics like I heard you, so what? You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the man. Tally all the I ever gave on my head.